We are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to SuccessCafe.tv. My name's Paul Bursey.
And I'm Warren Connolly. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to be back on our Monday podcast.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, 1 week away, and it's like, I don't know, it's just like a different world. So today's subject, what makes some people more resilient than others? Now, we've all come across people who fold at the first little hurdle they're confronted with. I think it's about how we cope with adversity. I think that's what resilience is.
Mm-hmm.
And so during your life, Warren, you've had obviously things that happen where you had to be a little bit resilient. Can you think of anyone that sort of stands out?
Trying to adapt to a new environment. Yeah, so if I've moved to a new country and I'm working in that environment, it teaches you resilience. Yeah, because you need to learn the new culture, perhaps a new language, the way business is conducted. So there's a lot of factors that come into play when you move into a new place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that everyone's different. We're all unique, as we keep saying, and people have different levels of tolerance when it comes to adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can go to extremes and be able to basically deal with anything, whereas some people I know very closely, it doesn't take very much to put them over the edge, whether that be emotionally or financially, So, but what do you do when the proverbial hits the fan and it all goes wrong and there's trouble? Or more one thing happens at the time, because a lot of things happen in threes.
Yeah,
that could be because we're looking for them.
Yeah, as I say, when it rains, it pours, right? So
yeah. I mean, things do stack up occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the universe conspires for that little while, doesn't it, to heap crap on you. It were. Now, the question is, do you hide? Do you fold? Do you bury your head in the sand? Or do you stand up, be counted, and come into your own and fight back? Yeah, I think you're probably like me, Warren. You probably fight back.
Oh yeah, I definitely fight back. But also, I think it's my approach to fighting back is very it's a slow burning process. My approach when I am resilient is that I tend to I tend to be quite stubborn in my approach initially, and then once that stubbornness breaks down, then I'm more open to trying new avenues and things. But that's the key thing with resilience, I think, is that you're never afraid to try new things to make sure that to get something to work, right? It's when people are not open to new ideas or new approaches to something, they lose that ability to be resilient, because this is it. It's being able to deal with challenges no matter what. And it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go, as long as you just keep going. If you just keep pegging away the whole time without giving it up, then it allows you the ability to be able to develop new techniques, new skills, new tools, whatever, new approach to things, and that gives you the more ability to be more resilient.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing for me is flexibility.
Sure.
Because we can all run into the fire, as it were, but sometimes you have to think
before you run.
Now that thinking could be split second.
Yes.
But you've also got to be flexible whether to go forward, backward, left, or right.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of that. We, being an ex-uniformed police officer as well as a detective, we were doing a professional football game, and Chelsea were at Orient, and we were doing duty at the Orient football ground, and somehow we ended up, me and this other police officer ended up arresting someone, probably for threatening behaviour or fighting or something. And we slipped down, and it was before it was all football grounds are really well built now.
Mhm.
The Orient ground at one end had a big dirt mound one end. we fell down about 25 or 30 yards. And this dirt mound. We weren't hurt or anything, it was just quite funny, really. I suppose if you'd been videoing it, you could have had a good laugh. But anyway, we arrested this bloke, and his 300 Chelsea fan friends decided that he wasn't going to be arrested. So I'm the type of stubborn person who could probably say, yes, he is. But on this occasion, I decided to be very flexible. And I think, to be fair, my first words to him were, if they come down here, you're going to be knocked out. You're going down first, you know. But then I thought about it logically. I thought, well, I do sort of like my physical being as it is.
Yeah.
We decided to let him go. So I am resilient, but I'm not stupid.
Sometimes you got to just cut your losses loose, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, look, a lot of people just melt into the background. Mm-hmm. They'll walk away. They won't confront anything, and that's also a challenge as well. I don't know. They shrivel. That's the best way I can see, and become mentally smaller, and keep reducing down till they're virtually gone, till they're virtually disappeared. But
then often those type of individuals are the ones that have that passive aggressive behavior too. So they develop the sense of but that's a different subject. But passive aggressiveness doesn't help you to be resilient. All it does is it gives you the ability to, it gives you the perception, or somebody the perception, that you are being resilient, but all you're doing is you're just bottling things up, and you're not actually, empowering yourself by taking certain steps forward. And then until one day, all of a sudden, poof, you just explode, and that's it. And same thing could have happened to you. You might have, let's say, for example, in that situation, you're in an away game. Chelsea fans are out of control. Okay, you've gone to arrest somebody, and you may have been bullied in your past life. Okay, as a youngster, and this is why you wanted to become a police officer. But you've got all this pent up aggression built up inside of you, and then that stubbornness, or that resilience that you think you're having, is to hold on to that suspect, or that arrestee, okay, the arrested person, and you could have just stuck to your guns and decided no, because that passive aggressiveness came out of you, and now you're wanting to make an example of someone for the wrong reasons. That doesn't allow you to be flexible at all, and therefore you lose that ability to be. You may seem as being resilient, but you're not. You're just being stubborn as, and you're not giving in, not caving in, but for the wrong reasons. And that's when somebody can get hurt.
Yeah. I think mine was definitely resolve. Mine was definitely resilience.
Yeah.
Because, it's funny, you get this feeling come over, and you can say, I can take the world on. Mm-hmm. You can't take 300 Chelsea fans on. So the world has to be diminished a bit.
And that's coming from an Arsenal supporter.
Yeah, that's right. So, but no, I didn't look at it like that. I did look at it professionally. I was, I was looking at it. I've arrested Arsenal fans, so it really doesn't matter. So, but but you've got to have resolve. You've got to have fortitude. You've got to have the tenacity to be able to deal with things. And I think some people, unfortunately, are just plain cowards. They won't face anything, and in life, I think you've got to be resilient. There's going to be things happen to you, most of which you have no idea what's going to happen,
True.
And True. The thing is, do you panic? Do you run away from it? Do you face the difficulty? This is where your intelligence has to come in. Sometimes you fight, sometimes you run away.
Your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about panicking. I'm just saying it's self-preservation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sometimes. But the resilience that most people have to face, it's going to be different for everyone.
Well, we're never taught to be resilient either. It's never something that's been that's identified for us. I think very few of us grow up with parents or guardians, whether they be teachers or whoever, that teach us the understanding of resilience and what it means to be resilient. Unless you're in a team sport, for example, or in individual sport where you're an athlete and you're focusing only on yourself, then you may have a coach, if you're fortunate enough, that will teach you what resilience is. But I think for most of us, we don't have that privilege, really. It's something that is it's born within us, and either it comes out or it doesn't. And as you say, many of us end up being cowards. Although I don't like to use the word coward, because not all of us are brave in many ways.
That didn't necessarily. When I said coward, what I meant was they will not deal with anything.
Yeah, they won't. They just because they don't have any fortitude, let alone resilience.
That's just the way I see it. We're all varying degrees of brave, all right, and and we understand that some people don't want any confrontation, things like that. But I'm not necessarily talking about confrontation. I'm just dealing with a situation.
That's the situation in life as a confrontation.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. I'm thinking, when I say confrontation, I meant between two humans or more.
Okay.
But you could be faced with a telephone bill. Some people will put it in the drawer and try and forget about it. Some people will actually say, "Oh, I've got to raise this £40 to pay this telephone bill. How am I going to do that?" And they'll think it through, and they'll come up with an idea. Where other people just shy away from it and hide it. That's a form of resilience. I mean, it's
of course it is. It's the same in our line of business as well. We have, in order to be successful in direct selling, and that you need to be resilient. It's important. If you're going to go out there and you're going to be, trying to build your business in some shape, form, or way, you're going to have rejection. You're going to have people not wanting to look at what you've got, or see what you've got, or listen to what you have to say about it. And it's not to be resilient with that individual and try to push yourself upon them, but it's about being resilient in the broader picture, the broader aspect of it. In business, in anybody that's going into a meeting, a one-on-one meeting, and somebody, and you're doing some kind of negotiation, there's resilience that's required there, because otherwise, if you don't have that resilience, you're going to buckle under the pressure. You're going to just
say that. Yeah, and when I said about flexibility earlier, I mean, if you think back to someone like Frank Bruno, the boxer, obviously he looked the part. He was, he wanted to be mean and everything else, but he wasn't flexible enough to take on the big boys. Okay. Not really. I mean, I know he became world champion, but it was short-lived.
Yeah,
because he for some reason he was too wound up. Yeah, he couldn't relax, and he never gave the impression that he was actually enjoying it
or in control of it.
Whereas someone like Tyson or Muhammad Ali or something, they were real top of their game.
You can't use Tyson as an example of enjoying it, because he was actually what many people don't realize, that he had resilience because he was hypnotized into it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how you get it.
Yeah.
Not in the case of that. But what I'm trying to say is that some people haven't got the resilience to go up to the top level. And you can understand, because most people haven't, by the way. So you're not alone, anyone thinking there.
And it's not something that you can't learn either. If you don't have resilience.
That's and you can learn resilience, and I'm going to cover all that in a little while. But the question is, how resilient are you? Now, I know it's a very, very big open question, but I think inside you know how resilient you are. Are you going to stick around to get the right outcome? And the question I would ask is, would I want you in my trench or foxhole? Yeah. And I know from I know me, and you'd want me in your foxhole, even for the jokes. But But yeah, I mean, whereas other people, you wouldn't want them anywhere near you.
Mm-hmm.
No. Go over there. Go,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, especially in a traumatic or a dramatic scenario.
Yeah.
Some people you just want to just tell them
Yes.
to go sit
Go
quietly in the
away.
corner and
Yeah,
let things.
go away to the ice cream kiosk and go buy yourself a lolly or something. You know, so leave me leave me to it. But no, we've all got different levels of resilience, you know,
Of course.
and I found a nice little description of what resilience is. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficult experiences and setbacks, to adapt, move forward, and sometimes even experience growth.
Yes.
That was quite good. It's quite it covers most things actually. So you've got to adapt. You've got to be able to think on your feet, you know, and stay in the game. Stay in the game. If you don't know how to deal with something, learn, ask, get help. So
And you can always step back for a while as well. You know, it's you don't have to keep rushing into things and keep stumbling and falling on your ass and then trying to get up and continue to keep pursuing all the time, because this is the other caveat with this, is that people tend to pursue more than actually enjoy the process.
yeah,
They're so stuck on pursuing, and they think that they're being resilient, but all they're doing is they're just running into a brick wall all the time. Sometimes you just need to, you got to take action in the beginning, sure. And if you take action without thinking too much about it, you're more likely to be successful. But sometimes when you do hit that brick wall, you just need to step back, and then that teaches you the resilience, like you say.
yeah,
It's step back and think about it, assess, reassess whatever you need to do, and then go back again with some new approach to your challenge, whatever it is. And then you're going to understand, learn, and grow from that, as
yeah.
opposed to continuously hitting a wall.
And because the other thing is, you know, when I was doing my research, is finding out about a person's resilience and what dictates it, you know. And the first thing I found was a combination of genetics. Now that's not huge; that's only a small part of it. It can have a lot to do with how you face things, but one of the biggest things is your personal history. What's led up to this moment, you know, and obviously your environment's another big one. You know, I would say who you're surrounded by.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the other thing is the situational context, which basically is why something is occurring, you know, and then your appropriate behaviour and actions associated with the actual situation that's happening at that time, you know. And so there's quite a few things. Now, if you're of a certain type of person, you'll mould into this, and you will learn, and you would increase your resilience all the time. Unfortunately, there are some people that resilience is never going to be part of their makeup, their
Mm-hmm.
toolbox, their arsenal. You know, however you
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about it. So, but your temperament is very, very important when it comes to resilience, and your personality. But temperament is very important. You know, can you hold things at a level? You know, or are you? What you mentioned earlier, emotional resilience, emotional intelligence. Are
Mm-hmm.
you a person that can drop like a stone one minute and be high up the next? Well, the best thing is to be at a certain level, you know,
Yeah,
quite a
for
reasonable level. So
resilience, yes.
yeah, resilience. But in other words, resilience should become a part of you. You know, whether it's dealing with a bill that you can't pay, whether it's helping a neighbour, whether it's helping your family, you know, whether it's something that really goes badly wrong, which it will happen to a lot of people in their lives, where things go really, really badly. You know, you have to roll with the punches. You don't know what's going to happen the next day. Nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are genetically influenced, albeit to a small amount. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think some people are more genetically influenced than others. I think you know. And one of the biggest things is consistency. 1 minute they're great, the next minute they're awful, you know.
Yeah, and I think look, there's genetics and then there's genetics, and you and I, we know a bit about epigenetics, and when you talk about genetics, they're looking about what can they find that's in your DNA, so to speak, as opposed to with like epigenetics, where you're bringing through traits and behavioral patterns from your history, okay, not you personally, but from your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and beyond. Okay, I've heard somebody say that it was actually Sadhguru that said you bringing back stuff from the first line of your tree, okay, from the first branch of your tree in terms of your genetic history, you're bringing stuff from there. So that's also going to lend towards whether you're predisposed to be resilient or not as well. You may be carrying through behavioral patterns from a grandfather or grandmother that just freaked out at the sign of any stress. Somebody that may have just freaked out if anything went wrong whatsoever, rather than being able to breathe and just be resilient and take it on their shoulders. And you may carry that through with you. It's not necessarily something that you understand or comprehend or even are aware of. But it is what it is. So, genetics, I think it's when they say genetics, like you say, it's a small part of it. That is that's from a biological standpoint. But when you're talking about, past histories and things like that, that's a much bigger scope, in my opinion. And
it is because it's your whole life.
Yeah, and I think this is what affects people
more. And obviously they talk about environment. So if you've got a violent dad or something like that,
sure, yeah,
it could be that could rub off on you and you're a violent person. On the other hand, it could have the reverse effect and make you more resilient, saying, well, that's not going to happen again in my life. I'm not letting that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, each person's unique. So it will be different for different people. And, as I say, it's important that we know ourselves. We know whether we're resilient or not, And the other thing is, if you're a risk taker, it seems resilience likes risk takers.
Okay.
And then you've got the other side of the coin where you've got introverts and extroverts. So an introvert may be very resilient and very quiet about it, whereas the extrovert may be extremely resilient and be noisy about it. So it's not necessarily whether introvert or extrovert.
No, yeah, I wouldn't say so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think things like your genes, that can actually shape things like how you deal with PTSD.
Okay.
So genes and obviously what we spoke about, the genetics, can have a definite result. The result you get from having PTSD, whether you deal with it or whether you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But the research I found that people that are even-tempered seem to deal with resilience much better than anyone else. How you deal with things psychologically. So,
I mean, I'm pretty even-tempered. My temperament is very, very plateaued for the most part, and I believe that I've been resilient all my life. I've had to be resilient. And in the beginning, I didn't know what it was, but in hindsight, I've looked back at my past and I realized how resilient I've had to be throughout my life. Some people have never been forced to be resilient. Some people have never had the opportunity to test their resilience. Unfortunately, some people have, those kind of folks that have been born with a silver spoon in their mouth, per se. You wouldn't say that they've had many opportunities or need to be resilient in any way, except for perhaps with their parents. That's another point. So I think it's a shame when people are not offered the opportunity in their lives, or they just don't. They are, but then they don't identify with the challenges, and then they cower away from those challenges. but not that's without blaming them, because you can't blame them.
No, I think I suppose it depends on the individual. Some people can just go through life and just have and I'm not knocking it, and just an ordinary life. They don't have too many things happen to them, or bad things, and they just sail through life. It's but there are people that do fold very easily, and I think you've got to learn to deal with things, and I was going to keep this to the end, but nobody can do it, or most people can't do it alone. We all need help of some description during our lives. You may not think so, but if you were to analyze it, you'd probably say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Whether you've got a partner in life, a significant other, whether you've got lots of friends, a really, really good support network. So they all have a bearing, and as I say, but your personal history is, I would say, is probably the biggest factor in whether whether you can be resilient or not, and it is most definitely a learned behavior. Okay, so and also the quality of your close personal relationships. So your early days, your formative years, can have a tremendous effect on your resilience. Having said that, we do know of people that have had a real crappy life, have had no help whatsoever, and they're the most resilient people you could ever come across.
Yes.
So, again,
there's many examples of that. Examples.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see it all the time, Yeah. But parents play a crucial and lifelong role. There's no doubt about that, in the way that we adapt to what's going to come up for us. It
was like yesterday. I had as you know, I had a slight accident yesterday. I fell down the stairs, and I thought I'd broken my elbow after I landed, because it was in the same arm that I've shattered before.
Yeah.
So when I landed, the way I landed, and my elbow landed right on the corner of the step, I thought I'd broken the elbow. It felt like it, and but fortunately, it was just a very deep cut. But at the moment, I was with Laura, our daughter, and she was in front of me, and I dropped everything that I had in my hands to land, to brace myself, because I knew I could see what was coming before it happened. And I think that's also from a resilience as well. You can kind of see what's going to happen, And as soon as I started to fall, I could see what was going to happen, and so I dropped everything. But then I landed with this thud, and I immediately cried out in pain. Okay, that initial shock. All right, and instead of, I was in the moment, in the process of literally passing out, because my head started going dizzy, and I was all light, and I only had 3 hours of sleep from the night before. And Laura started shame. She started to not panic, but I could see the fear in her face when she saw me. And I just calmed her down immediately, and I just said to her, just go call Mom and ask Mom to come and help me, and I just helped her stay calm at the same time, and it's I think if I wasn't in that state of, if I didn't have the experience in terms of resilience and things like that I've had before in the past, because Andrea would typically panic too. So Andrea would panic in a situation like that, and I just helped keep her calm as well. So I was trying to stay awake, not pass out, and at the same time keep my wife and my daughter calm, so that they wouldn't panic and start freaking out. Because Andrea was immediately, she wanted to rush me to hospital, and that I'm like, no, and it's just, I think from the experiences that I've had personally, that helped me in that moment with coaching our daughter on how to stay calm in a panicky situation. And just being able to stay calm, that helps to teach you resilience at the same time. Because if you're emotionally up and down a lot and you panic when things happen, then you lose the ability to be resilient in the moment. So resilience can be a momentary thing, but it can also be a long term, and as far as a lifelong thing, if you allow it to be, if you are able to stay in the moment at that time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think panicking is quite an important one, actually, because I've never been a person who's panicked. I go into high thinking mode rather than panic.
yeah, and some people are like that. Yeah, some people,
Yeah,
when you're in that situation,
it's being alert. That's
yeah,
one of the things, is being alert, and but I was talking about personal history. They say that the personal history and the early experiences sculpt the brain,
true.
because your brain is use dependent. It's a use dependent organ, so it's got a memory. It remembers things. So if you're resilient, it remembers you're resilient.
Yeah.
It's telling you I'm resilient.
Well, this is also one of the ways to teach yourself, to coach yourself to becoming resilient, is remember experiences in your past that you've been where you have been resilient, because
Yeah,
we've all been resilient in our past. It's just varying degrees, right? So if you can actually recall parts of your life where you've been resilient, this will teach you to understand and to trust that you can be resilient.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can take resilience to the far end, and then when you do extreme things, like maybe you're injured, maybe you're a British soldier. I'm using a British soldier because that's what I think. British soldier in Afghanistan, and then you have an explosion happen, and that takes it to extremes, doesn't it? Where
True.
you may have lost a limb or something, and of course, what happened to you on with the stairs, the shock starts to kick in, which
Mm-hmm.
will happen to someone who loses a limb and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and it is your history, the resilience that your body knows, that can get you through it, whereas others might absolutely panic and just totally lose it. And we never know until we're in that situation. We never really know what we're going to do.
No, I've had an accident once before where I got cut right down to the bone, and I went to my car calmly with in the pain that I was in. I just calmly went to my car. I took out my first aid kit. I cleaned myself up. Okay, bandaged it up. Got in the car, drove myself to the hospital. I checked myself and I said, I think I need some stitches. and that was, and that was from experience. If I had never experienced the things that I've experienced in my life before, physically and emotionally, then I know I would have just had the accident and I would have asked somebody to call the
Yeah,
ambulance.
yeah,
But I just realized that the best thing to do in this moment is stop, instead of waiting for an ambulance to come, clean it up, get in the car, and drive myself to the hospital. And
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
that's
there's, resilience is a funny thing. Think about when we were being quarantined, or sorry, the lockdown, as it were.
quarantine phases.
Some people it would send them backwards, where other people might decide to start a meditation practice, or
Yeah.
do an online course, or learn to play the guitar, or learn a language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another form of resilience. Whereas other people might sit in the
Very
corner
true.
crying, and we don't know. I'm never going to do that. But what I'm saying is that we don't know. Only you will know when it happens what you're going to do.
Actually, online courses, the online course business has boomed since we've been quarantined.
Oh, absolutely.
It
Yeah.
has. So many people have taken to online learning at the moment, and that's fantastic. I think that's a testament to the resilience of the human race as a whole.
Yeah. But so what are some of the traits of people that have resilience? And the first one that I came across was positivity.
Just a
But
positive general outlook.
with a realistic outlook, though.
Yeah, so it's instead of waiting for a problem to fix itself, they go out and fix the problem.
Attack the problem.
Yeah.
Attack the problem. Otherwise you just sit there and dwell on it and get pissed off. But a lot of people will sit there and dwell on negative information. and negative events and things that happen. So obviously the successful person, or the person that is very resilient, will, if something happens, they'll look for opportunities, and the situation could be really bleak, really bad, and they'll still look for the opportunities. That's what I like. A lot of people strive to find the positive that's within that thing that's happened. Other people will look for the negatives. One of the big things that I came out of my research was moral compass.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. Where would you put that? I mean, I think it all goes down to the type of person you are. Is something right? Is something wrong? And this would guide any decision. So what type of person you are. I'm talking to everyone here, I don't know. But
I think something like it with the moral compass part. I mean, that can go either way. You get people that do some devious things, but as far as they are in their head, morally speaking, they're doing the right thing. They are, morally speaking, and you can look at it from a religious point of view. You can look at it from a spiritual point of view. You can look at it from whatever point of view. You're going to have both sides of the coin being played out, but there needs to be some kind of moral compass involved in terms of whether because often you needed to be resilient when something challenges your status quo from a point of how important is this to me, or how unimportant is it to me?
Yeah.
If it's something that's not important, well, then why are you going to need to be resilient? So it depends on where your morals stand. What values do you hold true to yourself?
You could write down a list of values or whatever, but they're your values. They're not necessarily someone else's. Now, a lot of them will crisscross and be the same with people, but a lot of people won't even write them down.
A lot of people, you ask them, what's your values? They go look at you and go, what?
What? Yeah, what are you talking about? My values going down the pub for a drink.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's
up to them. Do what they want. What I'm saying is that, right. So another one is belief in something that is bigger than you. Now that sort of opens up. That could be something. That could be religious. That could be business. That could be sport. Cool. It could be you're part of a cycling club or a chess club, or and I think it's important that you've got something that you believe in or you like doing. And the other thing is being concerned about others, but at the same time having a slight degree of selfishness. Because if you think about it, resilience is a selfish thing, not in a negative way.
Not a narcissistic way.
It's not something you can teach. You are either resilient, or you're not, or varying degrees of it. So again, it's very, very important. Dedicated causes. You see lots of people dedicated causes, whether it's you're on the left or the right, or whether it's a good dedicated cause or a bad one, but they do have a tremendous effect on resilience, and I wouldn't go any more political than that.
Yeah, I think so often that also that depending on where you are, whether it be spiritual, religious, political, but that form of resilience is very much, I think it's masked by faith more than anything else. People's uninhibited faith in whatever that cause is, as opposed to resilience, and they believe so much in what it is that there is no question about it. So there's not that they're having to be resilient because they're faced with a challenge or a prospect. No, it's just right.
I mean, to be fair, I'm only interested in the type of resilience that that comes from adversity, where things
Or
haven't
adversity.
things haven't gone the way you wanted them to go.
Yeah.
And you've got to step up to the mark. But because the other thing is, I mean, when we're talking about resilience, it's accepting some of the things you can't change, but changing the things you can change. You can't change everything,
Yeah. And in the same breath, even when you can change something, don't always think you need to do it by yourself either.
No, that's right. That's right.
If you can get somebody to lock arms with you or a group of people to help you out, then do it. Don't just think that you need to, in order to be resilient, you've got to do it by yourself. No. The fact that you are resilient should enable you to start thinking about who you can do that with.
Yeah. Because the other thing you've got to do with resilience is keep appraising the situation, because you might have got it slightly wrong on your first, appraisal.
That's what I was saying earlier about hitting the wall all the time, and rather than
Hang on a minute, I don't want to keep hitting my head against this brick wall. It's not doing me any good. It's making me more ugly than I was before.
Yeah, but that's not being resilient. That's just being stubborn.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So find a different way.
I mean, think of Shane, poor dogs, but like think of bulldogs, for example. They were literally bred to ram into bulls and grab them by the bull horn, by the ring here, and pull them down to the ground. Okay, bulldogs, and they were bred by the Spanish to do this, and this is why they have these snouts like that, because over time that was built into their biological makeup. All right, and think how stubborn is a bulldog. If a bulldog doesn't want to do anything, it's not going to do anything.
But I'll tell you now that they are a bit stupid as well, as lovable as they are, because I watched Tom and Jerry. So okay, so last few things. I mean, people that are on a mission in life, regardless of what that is, they've got a meaningful purpose to get stuck into. I think that it's very, very important. Resilience comes into that. You've got to be able to stick at things. Commitment. If you're feeling committed towards something, you're going to show courage and strength. So, it's resilience is. I love the word resilience. I think it's a brilliant word. And, I like to stick at things, and I like the 2-year gap, the 2-year thing for resilience. That's my thing. Whether it's training for a marathon or training for professional sales, and the moment I veer away from my 2 years is the time I'm finished. That's when resilience goes out the window. But to do resilience, you've got to have some kind of social support system.
Well, you also need to have a way of escaping as well. So you have some kind of mental break too.
Absolutely.
So for you, like that is your 2-year time frame. After that, you need to have a mental break from that. And if you have a social circle, it gives you that environment to be able to have that mental break away from it, even if you're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, but that social circle is really, really important, because it allows you to have some downtime. Believe it or not, not only can it help you, but look, nobody hits 100% all the time. Okay, you need a little bit of downtime sometimes, where you can be a little bit more. I can't think of what the word is.
Me neither.
No, I've just. But you're not going to be at a high level all the time. So basically, what you need to do is, if you're part of that type of thing, where there's a group of people, you can take a back seat. Recharge, and recuperate, and on the other thing is, part of that also is you supporting others. So it's a two-way thing. So but very few, resilient people go it alone. That's my last word on it.
I liken it to like a really good cycling team. When they're working as part of a peloton. and there's always somebody at the back taking a breather,
Yeah.
and the ones at the front are doing all the leg work, no pun intended. But the one, even though the one at the back is taking a breather, they're keeping the pace from behind. So they keep they're still pushing the ones in the front continuously. So this is a great way to remain resilient, because you look at those cycling teams, and those good ones that work together, like for example Team Sky, that would do so well in the
When you said that, I thought of Team Sky.
Yeah, for so many years, and actually they had a really good coach that was coaching them on that at the same time.
Brailsford, isn't it?
What's that?
Dave Brailsford, wasn't it, or something?
Brailsford, I think. Yeah,
I think it's Brailsford.
Dave, someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he just had the philosophies right. I mean, they had a lot of backing financially, but they had all the professionals, and that turned out 3 Tour de France winners.
Whereas previously there'd be none.
Yeah. So, and multiple ones as well, not just one-offs. They had three, and they did it. Bradley Wiggins, was it?
Brad Wiggins and
Garrett
Jones. Geraint.
I can't think.
No.
And the South African. What was the South African one? Who was he? Which one was that?
He's British, but yeah, he was from South Africa.
Yeah, I noticed that. I just thought I'd make that known. It was South Africa.
Thank you.
But he was probably the best of the bunch.
He won it more than once.
That's right. Yeah. And his resilience is brilliant. You know, and that would be the epitome of resilience. Just to be in the Tour de France, you have to be resilient. Any cyclist in the Tour de France. But then to go and win it, and to go
more than once.
Can you imagine going up them hills? That beat
more than once legally.
I wouldn't do it because my resilience wouldn't work.
You would just give it up.
So yeah, but look, it's something you could learn. You can't blame anyone for not having resilience. It's something if you want it, go get it. All right.
In the same breath, be compassionate with yourself as well. You know, just realize that any challenge that you're going through is valid. Number one, it's happening for a reason, and number two, just realize that we don't always succeed, no matter how resilient we may be. But then lend on examples of your past, of your history, where you have been resilient, no matter how small that is, because at the time, you needed to be resilient in that moment based on the level at which you could be resilient. All right. So your ability to be resilient today may be much higher than it was 20 years ago. However, at that time, that was your ceiling, and you were able to break through that ceiling and then move up to another notch in your life evolution. So just be compassionate with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself that things are happening to you that don't suit where you are right now. Just plug away at it. Use your community if you can. Get help from other people if possible. Take a mental break from time to time. Yeah. Don't stick your head in the sand. Fix the problem as fast as you can, and just be compassionate with yourself. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So go resilience.
Go resilience.
Go resilience. So hopefully it's been useful. As I say, it's we use resilience in the form of business. We use resilience in the form of sport. They're the two areas that become apparent to me where I've been using it, and it's available to anyone. It's not easy. Nobody says it's easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and everyone would be a champion. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
When I say champion, I mean a champion in your own life. By the way, I'm not saying the Olympic champion standing on the rostrum with the gold medal. That is the other end of it. But a champion in your own life. So you know that you're resilient. You know that you can stick in there. You know that you can do anything you really want to. And that's the difference.
I want to add to that. You can do anything that you want to. The moment you ask for something to happen, it's already been delivered. You just need to figure out a way in which you can claim that. That's all. And this is where resilience comes in, because this teaches you the tools to go out and actually be able to claim what it is that you want to achieve. So the moment you ask for something to be, it's already there. You just need to figure out how to actually find it, or how to claim it. So it's don't stress yourself out on the how, because that's not important. It's the journey that counts.
It's like the gold rush. Don't stick that stake in the ground, you know. So, anyway, I hope you found it useful. Please share and
I did.
like and comment and whatever else you can do to help us. And have a fantastic week. And we'll speak again soon.
Yes, have a wonderful time, everybody, and share this information, as Paul said. Yeah, comments, likes, loves, all that above, that helps too.
Great. Have a great day. See you later.